Hey guys, Desolator Magic here, and I've got another story for you. This isn't technically a story time with Desolator, it's more of, I have no idea what this is. It's like a story, documentary, case study, opinion piece? I don't know, it's an editorial, who knows. An interesting thing happened at the last Friday Night Magic, but let me just give you the backstory or this isn't going to make any sense. So you guys know I used to go to a local gaming store that had at one point about 45 to 55 people at every single Friday Night Magic, which was great, except a ton of them were dicks, and a bunch of the new people were driven away by the same group that's been coming there forever. I left because I couldn't stand their attitudes, couldn't stand their cheating, and I really hated the staff. And trust me, the staff really hated the customers too. That is not a joke. They hate the customers. So I went to a new local gaming store, and they typically have, I would say, 8 to 16 people for a typical Friday Night Magic. And it's like competitive people who know what they're doing mixed with like new people, but we all get along absolutely perfectly. So a lot of them will build like popular deck themes, but they won't just go nuts and just utterly copy the entire deck list. But still, I would say, 2 or 3 weeks after Eldritch Moon came out, every single opponent that I went up against with the Mr. Nibbles deck was playing blue-white spirits or white spirits or what was the other one? Whatever that 3-color one is. Oh, Bant Company. So every one of my opponents was playing that. It looked like out of the 10 or so people, 8 of them were playing a variant of the same deck. Now, a lot of them had a different pace, a different end goal, a different style, because they swapped out like 8 cards and just completely changed it. But overall, it was like a control shutdown deck. They basically just tweaked the like speed and the aggressiveness. A lot of it was because they really want to make their own decks, and then a lot of it was because they just don't want to drop hundreds of dollars on a deck. If you pull Spell Queller, you got to put in like highly aggressive white flyers or something like that, or Angels or Gisela, which obviously costs a bit too. So you get the idea. I mean, you're playing slightly different variants, but it's pretty much just playing the same deck over and over and over, dealing with the same obnoxious cards with different lesser cards around them. So I cruised through and had an absolutely perfect record with Mr. Nibbles. Well, I mean, I lost 2 games, but I won all 4 rounds. The next week I was gone, and then like the next week I was at some wedding or something. I don't remember. I think I might have even missed like 3 in a row. Oh yeah, it was my brother's birthday. So I missed 3 in a row, and I come back last Friday, which was yesterday. And they're having a Legacy tournament, so all the Legacy and usual Modern players were there. A lot of them are pretty cool, not all of them, but a lot of them. But I'm waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and nobody showed up. Nobody. Absolutely nobody showed up for Standard. And so I asked the store, I said, like, did you guys change something, or was this Legacy only? Or, I don't know, did people think that it was canceled because of the Legacy tournament? He said, no, there's just been something going on weird with Standard lately, and the Standard players, they just haven't been showing up. He has no idea why, and just, I don't know. And I didn't get exact numbers out of him from the 3 weeks that I missed. But it sounded to me like it's been dwindling, and then it was like a complete and utter failure, and now I was the only one. It's like Standard just died. Now, I deeply suspect that what's behind this, because I have no other reason, what's behind this is the fact that, well, they were all playing mirror matches. Nobody likes playing against Control, but everybody likes actually playing Control, piloting it themselves, but nobody likes piloting a Control deck against another Control deck. That's just stupid, annoying, and a waste of time. So the fact that we didn't have 50 different people, and I guess none of them felt like building another deck, I guess they just stopped showing up. So that was a bit of a surprise to me. Now here's the funny consequences of this. The store might lose their WPN status. I'm not sure what level they're at, and it's a multi-location type of store, so maybe it's like all under the same central thing. I don't know. But let's just pretend for a second that this was an individual store that had just started out, because it just opened, I don't know, a couple months ago. It wasn't too long ago. They would have to hold 26 events, successful events with, I believe, at least 6 people in 1 year. Otherwise, they instantly lose their WPN status and can never regain it, as far as I know. Then, of course, since Magic the Gathering is the #1 product at hobby stores by far, there goes the big moneymaker, and they would go out of business. This individual location honestly still might go out of business. I got the impression that they're not doing like absolutely astonishingly well, but they're kind of in it for the long haul, and they have a bigger location somewhere else like financing it. But still, net deckers, net decked so hard that they're sick of standard, they ruined it for themselves, and net deckers could potentially put my local gaming store that I go to out of business. Seriously. Now you're going to think, oh, you're jumping to conclusions. No, think about it. They all stopped showing up because they were sick of playing each other's stupid same old. My pasta's done. This is some good pasta. So anyway, they were sick of playing each other, and they were sick of not having any pasta at Friday Night Magic. So until I hear differently, until I hear that they all caught Ebola from each other and died, I'm going to assume that's what happened. And, you know, from what the staff was saying, it sounds like he was kind of hinting at that. So all the kind of mediocre experienced players and a lot of the new players who wanted advantage, they all went online, looked up what won the tournament, built it because it wasn't crazy expensive, showed up with it, ruined standard for themselves, and then stopped showing up. Just think of the unbelievable stupidity of that sequence of events. If it happened over and over and over, they aren't going to be able to hold Friday Night Magic. They're going to get stuck with promos, and then they have to do all these like backup giveaways and start giving them away on like, you know, other modern tournaments and stuff. And it's going to turn into a nightmare. And then they could lose their WPN status and basically not sell Magic anymore. You can be a non-WPN location seller, but if you can't formally hold events and don't have promos and don't have buy a box promos, you aren't going to make anything. Like, for example, my store. The one that I own, not the one I go to. So that sucks. But on the bright side, this is seriously some really good pasta. I mean, I mixed two different brands together, and it was mostly because there wasn't enough left in either box. And it made this just awesome recipe, like oregano and like pasta sauce. I suppose tomato sauce, but oh my gosh, it's so good. This amazing pasta, glorious though it may be, still does not make up for the fact that I can't play standard because of net decking. Now back at my old LGS, I wanted to build kind of silly, funny, competitive decks, and I would almost every single week go 3-2 with it, which wasn't a big problem, but it would be nice, you know, once a year to like rank in the top 3, and you know, occasionally I'd be in the top like 7 and I'd get a prize. But sometimes I'm feeling competitive and sometimes I'm feeling like just playing for fun. And when I'm feeling competitive, the net deckers just ruined that store too. And plus, they were all cheaters and they're all dicks. At least these net deckers are decent, civil, reasonable people. They just really want to win and want the greatest edge in their own mind. You may recall that I built the Mr. Nibbles deck because it's actually good and actually beats what's in the meta right now, unlike, you know, just copying what was in a tournament. And I crushed them with it. They didn't stand a chance in hell against that deck. Look at what decks top 8'd at the tournament. There was some weird rogue decks that just carried, and they're just as good as, you know, Bant Coco, which is what everybody was playing. And actually, I think it dropped from like 54% down to like 21 or something. Everybody was ready for it. Everybody built around it. Everybody built better decks. So this is the real world consequences of net decking. This is what happens when people just go nuts with it and just ruin the game. They ruin it for the non-net deckers, they ruin it for the new people, they ruin it for the actual shop because everybody wants the same cards and they never have them in stock. And then they ruin standard for themselves. And then they stop playing with the deck that they paid a fortune for. If that doesn't get it through your heads that this is a problem, I don't think anything will. So I'm pretty much just going to leave the video at that. Do you guys have a similar story? Is the same thing happening at your local gaming store? I mean, my other one, it thrived on net decking. That they were all hyper competitive. They'd all bring, you know, the top couple decks, but there was enough variance that it wasn't just literally the same deck over and over and over. It was always the top decks, plural. And then there was like 5 people absolutely dedicated to rogue deck building like me, and we'd build exactly the opposite and just like have a complete shootout. So I'm not saying this is like the pattern that kills every local gaming store, but the fact that it actually happened, I just, it's mind-blowing. I can't believe it. I really don't even want to know what's going to happen next week. I think some people are just saying screw it and waiting for Kaladesh. Or maybe they all caught Ebola, or maybe they all had homework that week. A lot of them are under 18. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I do know that I got comments from multiple players complaining about playing against the same decks. And it was the people playing that deck. I'm like, you're complaining about yourself and your own decision net deck. So you're saying that you're the only one who can bring that deck and nobody else gets to bring it. Welcome to Net Decker Psychology 101. They just want to win, screw everybody else, and if they spend more, they deserve to win. I mean, that's Net Decker theology, I guess you could say. Oh my god, do I hate these people. So, people think, oh, I just rage at them because that's like the channel theme, it's kind of a running gag. No, they are detrimental to the game. They are ruining prices, they're ruining tournaments, they're ruining gameplay, they're extremely intimidating and misleading for new players because they tell them lies like, you have to build this deck if you want to win. When literally a month later at another tournament, completely different decks win, so I guess there were better decks out there. I mean, they're just ruining the game. They're just absolutely ruining the game. There is no, like, ifs, ands, or buts or maybes about it. They are ruining the game. They're ruining prices. They're driving people away. Like I said, they're ruining tournaments. They're ruining every aspect of the game. Some of them are polite, reasonable players. A lot of them are not. Either way, that's just icing on top of the crap cake. It's just bad. And there is no solution. It's not like I'm going to propose some big solution. The closest I heard was somebody said that a local gaming store said that you cannot bring the same deck twice in a row if you like top 7'd with it. Obviously, the top players would just trade decks with each other, but I think they would catch on at some point. That sounds oppressive and expensive and annoying to like new players who finally rank really high just 1 week and now they have to build a completely new deck. Plus, I'd want to play a deck more than, 1 week in a row, whether I won or lost with it. So that's a little much, but it's probably the best solution I've heard, and it's not very good. You can't just ban net decking. You can't just say you have to bring a deck that's at least 8 cards different than a top tournament deck. I mean, that just doesn't work. You can't do that. The best you can do is a soft logic solution where it's like, if they feel that you're a net decker and all you do is net deck, then they'll ask you to stop showing up to F&M and either move on to Modern or bring less good decks. And that is like so rude to like the dedicated customers. So what's my actual solution? Make YouTube videos spreading the good word about bad net decking. And for the 100 billionth time, net decking, the definition of net decking is copying a top tournament winning high tier deck and then playing with it with the intent of winning. If you found a deck list online and you're like, that's cool, I'm going to build that. That looks like fun. That's not net decking. That's just not having interest in deck building, I guess, and being lazy. Or just being uncreative. I mean, you could just be like, I'm just looking for a fun deck to play and I have no ideas. Nothing wrong with that. But if you constantly copy the top decks with the intent of winning, that's net decking. So hopefully that clears it up for you. I know it won't because people keep commenting on it. But yes, please tell everybody to stop the net decking. Like the old drug campaigns say, net decking. Not even once. I'll see you guys next video.